Hello everybody, welcome to a study in Celluloid. I'm Landon McIntyre and I'm joined by Spencer Henderson today, and we're going to be talking about the new video game Firewatch. Firewatch is a game developed by Campo Santos. It's about a guy named Henry who kind of needs to escape his life, so he heads and takes a job in Wyoming watching for fires and kind of discovers something a little bit about himself. Spencer, what did you think about this game?
Well, Landon, as you know, but the audience does not know, I'm really into this whole story-based gaming movement. I don't know if you played The Walking Dead Season 1.
I didn't know.
I think the director of this game did The Walking Dead Season 1 as well. And what I found interesting and fascinating about this game was how affected by these choices I was. Not getting into spoilers, but I really think it's interesting this style of storytelling and how effective it is, how you feel like your choices actually have an impact on these characters within this game. I also found myself genuinely thrilled in moments of this game. There were a couple scenes where I was just like, oh man, this is getting kind of intense, it was a little bit creepy in moments, which I wasn't expecting. I hadn't seen any gameplay on this whatsoever, did not know one bit what to expect with this, and I was really pleasantly surprised by the result. So it comes down to kind of would I recommend this game? And yes, I absolutely would recommend it, but going in kind of knowing that this isn't your normal type of video game. This is more of an experience. It's more of a world that you can just breathe in. Not to mention, this is a really gorgeous game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be hard to talk about without spoilers, but I found myself very invested in these characters' story.
A lot of the people like to call them walking simulators with a story, because in this game you do a lot of walking. And something I actually found really refreshing about this game was there's been a lot of just free roam games that have come out. You have Fallout, The Witcher, Just Cause 3, and I almost hit this point where I was kind of free roam fatigued, and so this game has a little bit of free roam, but you're always edged in the way of the story of which way you need to go. So I was really happy to find a game where I had a good story to connect with, and like you said, I really got invested with the characters, with Henry and Delilah. Actually, I got to the point, there was one part I got stuck actually, and I was in this big area and I couldn't find where to go. And I kept hitting L2 to pull up my walkie because I just wanted to talk to Delilah
I did that
so
times.
bad.
Yeah, you're just help me.
Yeah, you're just I was just trying to find a rock or a tree or just something just to chat
to communicate.
Because I was so you get so used to being alone, so you just want to talk with her so bad. You get so used to her voice, and so that was something that really drew me to the game, is how much, and like you said, how your decisions really affect, you really care. I found myself actually taking my decisions how I would do in real life.
Yeah.
I told you earlier about how the supply drop, when there's she told you just take one, you don't need to take everything. I was very I need to do this because I don't want to make Delilah upset at me, And so that's something about this game that I really enjoyed, was caring about my decisions.
Yeah, the decisions you make. And you honestly, it shows strong storytelling when you feel like the decision you make, no matter how small or how big, has a profound impact on the world that this game embodies and creates. And I agree with you. There were several moments where I stressed what I was going to say to Delilah, particularly towards the end, but won't get into that yet. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And there was actually a point in time where I got stuck as well, and I was doing the same thing, whipping out my walkie-talkie, just being like, "Come on, find something to talk to."
And in this game, it has the cues when you'll talk. You'll have a little radio pop up, and it the timer counts down before you don't respond to her. And I found it myself being extra aware of when that was making sure I responded to her, because I almost like I felt like I didn't want her to think, you know, I mean it's a game, but I didn't want her to think I was ignoring her, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I also needed that connection, like to talk to her as well, you know. And so that little timer was something that like I was always aware of.
It had attention to the game. And you know, there was a couple times, same boat. I was holding up the map, and then I'd see her. The timer started going. I'm like, oh crap!
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Get out of the map.
Yeah.
Like as quick,
That's something. It did get a little bit annoying. Was I'd have my map, and then she'd be talking, so I'd be kind of listening. Then all of a sudden it's that timer, so I'm like, oh, I got to close the map. I wish there was where you could just hit L2 and it would have just switched right back to the walkie.
Exactly.
I did miss a couple times where you would go and you'd miss what she'd say, and then it kind of just move the story along, and you just kind of wonder, oh, what would have been, you know, type of deal. So that was something that kind of got annoying from time to time, but I got used to, you know, switching back and forth.
Yeah, you kind of, after a little, I do agree the gameplay mechanic of the map, like, kind of proves to be a little bit, it has a learner's curve to it. Are you ready to get into spoiler discussion?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. So, I'm not going to lie. When I first completed this game, at first I was slightly disappointed with the outcome of what happened. I was kind of sitting there because, just so the audience knows, this whole entire game is essentially a mystery. At the beginning of the game, you find these two girls in the woods, and they're launching off fireworks, and you know, the whole entire time I had this sense of dread. Oh boy, we're going to go up to these girls and I'm going to end up killing one of them, and then I'm going to have to be running from the law. But that's really not what Firewatch is about. It's kind of about our mind and how we perceive events that take place around us. So essentially what turns out in the entire game is you discover that the person behind all the madness of these girls who went missing and this big almost thing that seemed like a conspiracy was a crazy man who was basically a hermit in the mountains, and his son ends up dying. And like I said, at first I was a little bit disappointed with this outcome. I kind of wanted something more, because the whole entire time, you know, I'm thinking, what's it gonna be? Is it gonna be like a slasher?
Yeah, I was almost thinking like, well, because there's that big metal gate. So you know, I was like, what's behind that gate? Like the government. There has to be something with the government. You know, something's going on. But you kind of realize this game's a very human, you know, realistic, I'll say, game, because like you were saying earlier, our minds are we're so trained now to expect extraterrestrial government stuff that we forget about a simple story about a guy who, you know, who had his son die, and so he's hiding from the law because of it. I was a little bummed also, like you said, but the more I thought about that, I was like, it makes a lot of sense, you know?
And I mean, we've talked a little bit about this today, but this game, that's really not the point of the game. The game is about human connection and isolation, and what isolation does to us as humans and what it does to our minds.
Yeah, like there's like the part when he woke up in the middle of the night and his radio, it's his wife and Julia, you know, and you're like, she's like speaking with him, you know, you're like, what was it like? Was that like day like 48 or something? It'd been a little while since he'd been alone, and so he was kind of getting a little. I kind of wanted to like explore that a little bit more. What triggered him to like, you know, because that kind of just kind of like floats. I'm not sure if there was like a miscue later on you could have done to figure out more about that, but it kind of shows the isolation. Yeah, definitely. It makes you feel isolated as a character too.
Oh, definitely.
Like, the only connection you have is literally with a girl on a walkie, and you can see her tower, you know, like
in the distance.
And the only human interaction you have is with two figures of a girl and then like the figure of a guy. That's like all you get. You know, you don't see you know, like any other people.
I was expecting at some point, you know, the happy ending, you go up the hill and you see Delilah. You guys ride off together into the sunset or whatever, but that doesn't happen. It's very honest, it's very like true to life. I suppose.
As bad as I wanted that to happen, I knew I couldn't let that happen because of Julia. You know, like, it was just like, I'm a married man, you know. I can't leave my wife, you know. Delilah is so great, but I just can't leave her, you know.
See, I'm completely the opposite. I would have ran off with Delilah for sure. I was talking to you earlier. There's really cool little details in this game as well. At a certain point in the game, I think it's around like, day 20 something, I noticed that on the table next to the typewriter was your wedding ring.
Yeah, as you're saying,
and they make it a point, you can pick it up and put it back on. I didn't pick it up and didn't put it back on because the whole entire time I was like, my wife has Alzheimer's. I'm going to be moving on. Yeah, she I don't know. So, I mean, as a person, I probably would have reacted differently. It really, there were points, especially in the opening of the game where it's telling the story, that I was like, man, these are tough decisions like that, and I
even the dog decision was hard for me.
Yeah, dude.
Because I was like, I want her to have something like the dog she wants, but I also want her to be safe.
Protect her.
And did you choose the bugle, or was it a beagle, or what was it?
I chose the one that makes her happy.
Yeah, that's what I did too. It's like the small dog. Yeah.
I wanted to know what happened.
Because he gets mugged, later on, and I wanted to see, because there's the little puppy gets kicked. So I want to know if the German Shepherd would have done something.
I know,
and so it's a very
what would have happened?
What would have happened type of deal.
Then, I mean, did you put her in a home, or did you take care of her?
I took care of her.
I did too. I wish I could have. We would have done the same thing, because I mean, after that point, your character ends up getting a DUI.
Yeah.
Which I wonder what would have happened if you would have put her into a home. How you would have turned out.
How you would have acted. Yeah.
There's that part where you get mugged, you beat up the guy, and you're crying. And that
did you beat him up also?
Yeah. Yeah. That told you so much about the character.
Yeah. He's just
that he's a vulnerable guy, and that really affected the way that I approached him later on in the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're too similar, and we probably chose a lot of the same decisions.
Something I liked about this game is there's not a lot of... There's little, the little boxes you can go and get kind of stuff out of. You can read the stories that Ron and Dave, kind of there's letters from other Firewatch guys written back and forth. But there's not a whole... Other than that, there's not a lot of looting that you can do, per se, I guess, looting. But what kept me exploring was because I wanted to talk with Delilah and see what she had, because their relationship is so it's just the voice acting is phenomenal in this game. It's just, I love it. I was not expecting, because I right when I told you about the game to get it, I was expecting to kind of play it throughout the week. But the minute I sat down, I was like, I'm finishing this game.
Fully invested.
I could not set down the controller. I was I just had to keep going. But it made you want to explore more, kind of look around, because you wanted to, like I said earlier, walk up to a rock, see what she has to say about it, because she has so many different things to say about different stuff, and I wanted the relationship to grow as much as it possibly could,
Exactly. You fully invested in the characters. What'd you think of the graphics in this game?
They're beautiful.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game.
Very reds and yellows. It was,
well, and then we haven't mentioned yet. There's you're a fire watcher. At a certain point in the game, the fire. Which, by the way, do you remember what you named it? I called it the Flapjack.
The Flapjack. Yeah, that's what I did too. Yeah. I wanted to name it Delilah so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to.
But see, I wanted to make her laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I did too, because she's just something sucks you into her. You just want to make her laugh.
The pretty great voice performance by whoever the lady was who did that.
Yeah.
But even at that point, back to the graphics, when the fire was getting close, and there was the outside, it was really foggy, and there was ash blowing through there. It looked gorgeous still. I really was into that.
It added an urgency to the whole, because with what was going on in the story at that point, and then with the environment around you. And then another thing I really enjoyed was the music of the game. It was very subtle, but when stuff started to hit the fan, it wasn't boom 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 boom. It wasn't. It was still very subtle, but
subtle.
It was more paced. But it made you feel like when you're going into the cave for the first time, you're going down there, you're just it's just beautiful music.
And as we were talking about kind of like the expectations, the first time I walked into the cave, I was like, there's going to be monsters.
Yeah,
I was like freaking out. Just
yeah.
like, what's going to happen in this
You
game?
expect me, it's like, was it cave 452 or something like that?
Cave 452.
When you finally get that key, you're expecting to like go down and find this base
like,
and
yeah,
stuff.
secret society or
something.
Yeah.
And then you don't. What was the kid's name? David?
Oh man, I feel like I should remember
his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
I totally knew when you find his little base he made. I was like, okay, something's happened to this kid. Like, I don't know, like, his dad did something, what happened, but, like, this kid's not okay.
Yeah.
You know? And then when you go and you find him, you're like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to tell Delilah?
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I
like,
stress about. And, like, you
this
don't
is
have
gonna
service
crush
in that
her.
cave.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to talk to her and be like, oh, boy.
Yeah,
like,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but then, yeah.
Something else about it that I wish I would have done a little bit, been more aware of was my little camera. Taking photos of stuff.
Me too. I only took one photo of the whole game because she urged me to.
Yeah. At the end of the game when the helicopter comes, I just used up all my I just wanted to see if I could get like an achievement or something for taking or trophy or whatever. There was like a moment when you burn the when you don't burn, but when the guy breaks out the fire on the little base.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I wish I would have taken pictures of evidence of what was here, you know? Because like, I'm thinking like there's going to be like life after the game, you know? Like, I got to make sure the cops, you know, see all my like, you know, what I have and stuff, you know? And so that's something I wish I would have used a little bit more. It almost seems they made a dedicated button for it. So I feel like they had a dedicated button for something that was kind of useless. Because, I mean, the other ones you had your map, your stuff like that, your compass. And so I was kind of like, I feel like there could have been a little bit more to the camera than there was. And who knows? Maybe there's like a rare trophy you can get or something for taking photos of different stuff.
Different
who knows?
Things, exactly. Yeah. At the end, when you got into Delilah's house, did you like look through everything?
Yeah.
Because I totally did. I wanted to know everything I could about that character.
I just wanted to see her face. I was like, she's got to have a photo of her somewhere, you know? And along the way, you come across your drawing, you know, that she drew of you and stuff. And then, which was another funny, I really enjoyed that scene when you're talking with her and she's asking you what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
Did you? I did when she did the Bond joke and stuff. Did you do that one?
Like, say you wore a tuxedo.
With the mustache. She's like, you kind of Bond, you know, a Bond villain. And so I enjoyed seeing that little drawing and stuff of me. But yeah, I definitely went through like, I was trying to like see if you could open cupboards or something. I was looking at all the books and whatnot. See what
I
she
was
into.
doing the same thing. It's quite an experience of a game. I really enjoyed it, and I really, I mean, that ending scene, I got kind of emotional when you're talking to her for the last time.
Yeah, it's just like, she's like, oh, I see your old clunky truck here, and you're like, that's a man's truck, you know, or whatever. I'm not sure what you said, but yeah, and she's like, well, what do you think you're gonna do? And there was like it was like, I'm gonna go see my wife, or I don't know, and there's something else I don't remember. I didn't want to say I was gonna go see my wife because I wanted to see what she would say to me, you know, if she would give me an urge to be like, you know, come with me.
See, I told her at the end of the game there was a thing like come with me to Boulder or something.
Yeah. So she was like, I don't know. I chose the I don't know, and then she was like, let's choose for each other, and then that one was prompted.
Okay, yeah, and then that's when I said, come with me to Boulder.
Come with me to Boulder.
So I did do that.
Did she go into the whole, you should go see your wife type of deal thing?
So what she said to me, something kind of along those lines. She's like, go like meet up with your wife, work that out, and then maybe I'll see you down the road.
Really? Oh, interesting. Because I chose, I don't know, and then she's like, let's choose for each other. And then she was like, what do you think I should do? And I said, there's a goofy one you could choose. It was like, no, I said move to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. That's what I told her. I was like, move to San Francisco. And then she was like, do you know, like, she said something like along the lines of, do you want to know what I want you to do or something like that? She was like, I think you should go back to your wife. And so she didn't even give me the option of thinking maybe down the road. It was just like, go back to your wife. So that's kind of interesting that she was kind of...
There was a little bit of hope
there for you.
To the relationship.
That's nice, because I was like heartbroken when I got on that helicopter. Like, they pulled me up, I was like, I will never see that.
It's a bittersweet ending.
Actually, okay, I took a photo of her base. When I went walking up, it has the Firewatch sign. I definitely, I was like all sentimental, and I took a photo of her little sign and her little house above it, you know? Mm-hmm. I was like, I took a photo of that, because it's not like he's gonna do me good, but like for the character's sake, I want him to later on be like,
exactly.
oh, that was her base, the type of deal.
When he's an old hermit who's murdering his son in the mountains of Wyoming.
Like you said, it was definitely hard when you said your last goodbye to her. You're like I said, it pulled at the heartstrings.
Yeah, as soon as you picked up those headphones, I was like, oh boy,
here
we go.
Yeah,
we're in trouble. Did you ask her to wait for you at the base?
I did.
I did too.
Yeah. No, I didn't say wait. There was another one that was along the lines of wait. It was like, what if they don't come back for me? I think that's when I chose.
Okay. I straight up said wait for me.
Yeah. What did she say? Did she say like...
She was kind of like reluctant. Yeah. I don't know if I should wait for you. And then I kind of said something like, oh, okay. And then she caved and she's like, okay, I'll wait for you.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
She told me, I was like, what if they don't... I don't remember how it was worded. The one I chose, but she ended up saying, she's like, I'm gonna go with them. I'm sorry, I'm going with them, type of deal. She didn't even give me like a chance, which is another kind of brings up another great thing about this game is there's not just one relationship you can have with her.
Exactly.
There's millions of choices. Mm-hmm. You could have a great one with her because they have it set up where you can play off the whole I want to be with you type, because it's just chock full throughout the game of like you being all lovey-dovey back to her type of thing, and then it's also chock full of you not even ever answering a call from her,
ignoring her,
which
completely.
Is also very interesting. I want to kind of see where that would
exactly.
I'm interested in going back and maybe in a couple months and trying that and seeing how that relationship would be. I want to try the one with her being totally us in love, see how that goes. And then something I said we were saying earlier with the whole, at the beginning of the game when you're first getting to know her, and she asks you, so have you broken any hearts back in Boulder? You have the chances to, the first one's like, I'm married, and then there's like, I don't have anyone, and there's like another one. I want to know if you can play off the entire game without her knowing you're married type of deal.
That's what I was thinking, the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, man, maybe I could have fooled this girl into thinking that I was a bachelor this entire
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, eventually, so how was it with me? Our relationship developed very, like, realistically. Like, at first I was very, like, kind of like not open to talk to her.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point in the game, I just was like, all of a sudden I'll open with her and like just talking to her about things.
You get tossed into it. It's right after that beginning when talks about Julia. I love the first thing in the game how it says, you see Julia or you meet Julia. Mm-hmm. That's the first. That's like the first thing, and I didn't know you were supposed to click, so I kind of sat on that screen for a while, kind of like.
And it makes like kind of a profound impact on you as a player.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should click this, you know? And so you click it, and then she does that whole, tell you the story. So at the very beginning, when you first meet her, you're just like, like, okay, like, I'm in love with Julia, even though like the character at this point is very, confused in his feelings. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if your wife has Alzheimer's and you're running to take it a job, there's definitely something wrong going on up here. Yeah. The last time I honestly think I've been this drawn into a game was when I played Journey.
I was thinking of Journey when I was playing this, like, I think that it's because both of these games are experiences.
Yeah, it's
rather than just like,
There's not quest here, quest there, There's not a whole bunch of different stuff going on. It's just very simple,
Walking into this conversation, actually, I was ready to give this game an 8 out of 10. However, discussing it, I feel like I've gained a lot more from the experience. So I think I'm going to bump it up and say that this game's a 9 out of 10. If you have a PS4, this game's only like $17.
$17.99 or something if you have PS Plus.
It's a no-brainer that you should at least give this game a shot. It's a pretty interesting experience, and if you have the free roam fatigue that Landon speaks of, or if you kind of just want to play a game that's different, I think that this is definitely worth your time. And it's, at least, even if you don't love it, it's an interesting experience and an interesting way to see how people are attempting to tell a story through video games.
So I was actually, when I played it last night, after how we were saying we were very upset, not upset, very kind of let down about the ending.
Underwhelmed. I
was about to give it a 9 out of 10. But the more I thought about it with how it's very real, I actually bumped up to like a 9.5 out of 10 because like you said, this game is, if you love Telltale games, this is of course you're
It's
gonna.
a must.
It's a
play.
must. It's a Telltale game, just like through and through. Just the story is there. So if you want a rich story, this game is definitely the game to go for. And it has beautiful, scenery. The music's great. Just like you said, it's an experience that I feel like everyone just, because I want to talk with people about it. I want to learn, other people's experiences with this game. So it's one of those things where you just want people to play it more. And so that in itself, having that effect, it gets a 9.5 for me. Coming to you from Colorado, this is Landon McIntyre.
And this is Spencer Henderson.
And this was A Study in Celluloid.